Firstly, you need to print 3 new parts: the cover of X-axis motor, Z-axis homing probe, and the gasket for X-axis belt fixing block. First step, disconnect the cables in the drag chain from the print head and the motor. Note that you need to pinch the terminal of the cable to pull out the cable, instead of pulling the cable directly. Prevent the cable from being pulled off or damaged. Loosen the screws that fix the drag chain on the Z-axis plate. Disassemble the drag chain. Remove the handle. And loosen the small screws that fix the screw rod on the coupling. The cantilever can be slid out of the Z-axis profile. Then remove the screw rod. Set aside. Use later. Then remove the pay printing platform. Remove the hotbed. Separate the drag chain of the hotbed from the Y-axis plate. First, remove the 2 pulleys on the outside of the Y-axis plate. Collect and save the removed screws and accessories. Then loosen the Y-axis belt so that the Y-axis plate can stand on its side. Remove the 2 inner pulleys. A total of 2 250mm MGN 12H linear rails and a 250mm MGN 9H linear rail are required for this upgrade. Optionally, choose a MGN 12H linear rail for the Y-axis. Insert the stoppers into the assembly holes at both ends of the linear rail. To prevent the slider of linear rail from accidentally slipping out of linear rail during the assembly process, which will cause the linear rail to be unusable, put the linear rail into the Y-axis profile, aligning the mounting holes. Fix it with M3X 6mm screws. Move the slider of linear rail and the Y-axis plate. Align the mounting holes of both. Fix them with M3X 10mm screws. Remove the stoppers at both ends of the linear rail. Fix with M3X 10mm screws. Tighten the Y-axis belt. And check if the Y-axis moves smoothly. Get the Y-axis upgrade done. Next, fix another MGN 12H linear rail on the Z-axis profile by the same method. Keep stoppers at both ends of the linear rail. Be careful not to slide the slider out of the linear rail. Don't slide the slider out of the linear rail. Don't slide the slider out of the linear rail. Say important things 3 times. Otherwise, the small steel balls in the slider will be scattered all over the place, and the linear rail will no longer be usable. Fix the Z-axis linear rail. Temporarily remove only the upper stopper and keep the lower stopper. After installing the Z-axis linear rail, The handle can be assembled to the top of the Z-axis. To prevent the slider of linear rail from slipping out of the top of the Z-axis, fix the drag chain of the hotbed to the Y-axis plate. Then put the hotbed and printing platform back. Check and clean the cable of hotbed. Avoid rubbing while the hotbed is moving. We have installed the linear rails of the Y-axis and Z-axis. Next, we assemble the linear rail of the X-axis. The process is slightly cumbersome. Be patient. First, replace the Z-axis homing probe base. The new parts are thinner than the old ones. This is due to the position of the cantilever extending 2 mm forward compared to the previous position after the linear rail was replaced. If the Z-axis homing probe is not replaced, it may cause the Z-axis and stop to be hit when the Z-axis is homed. Next, remove the pulley. Remove the belt fixing block and the X-axis bearing pulley base. The print head can be slid out of the profile. Next, remove the cover of X-axis motor. Remove the X-axis and stop and the screw nut. Then assemble them on the new cover of X-axis motor. When assembling the X-axis and stop, note that the probe of and stop is facing upwards. This is the slider nut that we took off when disassembled the adjustable pulley. We will also need to use this nut later. Please keep it. Find the M5X 10mm screws. Loosen the other screw fixing the X-axis profile. Remove the profile. Assemble the previous slider nuts and M5X 10mm screws to the Z-axis plate. Pay attention to the assembly direction of the slider nut. Then align the Z-axis plate with the assembly hole of the slider of linear rail, and secure it with M3X 10mm screws. Remember to keep the stopper installed at the lower end of the Z-axis guide rail at this time. Avoid sliding the slider out of the linear rail under the influence of gravity. Take out the X-axis profile and the other linear rail. Secure it with M3X 6mm screws. Finally, don't forget to insert the stoppers, which prevents the slider from accidentally slipping out of the linear rail. Now work on the print head. First, remove the 3 screws securing the fan cover. Then remove the front turbo fan. Next, directly remove the 2 screws that fix the heat sink of the print head. In this way, the X-axis slider plate can be removed. Remove all the pulleys on the print head, and save the relevant accessories and screws. Align the X-axis plate with the mounting holes on slider. Fix them with M3X 10mm screws. Put the print head on the plate. Align the screws of the heat sink of the print head with the stainless steel stud on the plate and tighten them. Secure the entire print head. Then fix the fan cover to the X-axis plate. Put the turbofan back after finishing the cables. Put the X-axis motor in the corresponding assembly position. Pay attention to the direction of the motor interface. Assemble the X-axis profile to the Z-axis plate. At this time, the assembly position of the X-axis profile on the Z-axis plate must cover at least 2 slider nuts. Slightly tighten the screw fixing X-axis profile. Just avoid the X-axis profile falling off by itself. Remove the X-axis belt. Put it on the synchronous wheel of the X-axis motor, and fit into the slot above the X-axis profile. Adjust the X-axis motor. Pay attention to the interface direction of the X-axis motor. Then assemble the cover of X-axis motor. Be careful not to pinch or press the belt during assembly. screw in the screw rod and insert it into the coupling and fix it with the screws. Avoid Z-axis free sliding, causing accidental slipping off the linear rail. At this time, the stopper at the lower end of the Z-axis linear rail can be removed. Loosen the fixing screw of the X-axis profile. Adjust the profile and fit into the cover of X-axis motor. Then tighten the screws again to fix the X-axis profile. Pay attention to keep the parallelism between the X-axis profile and the printing platform below. Next, install the X-axis bearing pulleys back. At this point, the stopper of the X-axis linear rail can be removed. Then assemble the belt and nest it on the belt fixing block. Fit the belt fixing block to the X-axis plate with gasket. Note that you need to use M3X 25mm screws to fix it. The original screw is not long enough to be used. Adjust the length of the belt so as to assemble belt fixing block on the other side. Check if the X-axis runs smoothly. Screw on the belt adjustment knob and adjust the tightness of the belt. Fix the filament guide to the side of the cover of X-axis motor. Finally, fix the drag chain to the Z-axis plate and carefully complete each wiring. Make sure the wiring is correct and stable. Pass the 3-pin cable with a P label through the triangular hole of the Z-axis plate and plug it into the interface on the bottom of the extruder. Connect the 2-pin black cable with the cable of X-axis and stop. Plug the 4-pin cable with a E label into the motor interface of the extruder. Plug the 4-pin cable with a X label into the interface of X-axis motor. Connect the white cable with black strip together with the red-black cable. Connect white cable with white cable. Connect the cable with the green terminal to the green-black cable. Connect the cable with the blue terminal to the blue-black cable. Fasten the cables with a tie. Finally, Check the running smoothness of each axis again. You are done.